Started it.
Yeah, I started it. Not. I just love that this thing doesn't fucking work properly. Uh, Terrible. Go slideshow. Just leave it like
The,
that. Don't care.
oh,
Oh, all of the interwebs. All of the no people listening at home. Welcome to the show. I wonder how distracting that background scrolling is going to be like that, because I think it goes way too fast. Ugh, I'm going to have to turn my monitor off. Turn my monitor off, making me sick.
again.
Too much
Perfect.
stuff and too much stuff and things. Too much stuff and things. Ugh, and of course it opens the wrong goddamn window. Get out of here. It's a mess. Everything's ruined. I've ruined everything. Why is this doing this to me? Ah, ah. Get over here.
Loves you.
Yeah, my amazing skills with the interwebs are hard to deal with. Here, I just wanna.
So annoying.
What? Everything? All the stuff and things?
I'd never had ads for the longest time. They took that away from Twitch Prime members.
Oh, you didn't used to have ads, now you do? That sucks. Oh. Ooh, what to complain about today?
Scrolling.
Complain about the
Is that
internet.
something you're put on the thingy?
I was messing around with
I
it.
only see our pictures.
I know, I had it scrolling
Oh,
for a minute. I just changed it, so. And apparently,
I
uh,
don't get the full. I can't handle this.
what,
I
what,
feel
what,
left out.
what can't you handle?
The fact that I didn't get the full effect
Oh,
of
sorry.
the nauseating,
Oh,
nauseating, swelling.
I can get it going again. Hold on. Here, let me just, I'll leave it like that for you. You can enjoy that. I'm going to turn my screen off, I think. Ugh. Ugh. Like, it wouldn't be so
There
bad
we go.
because
Finally.
it just keeps flashing in my eyes, so. Yeah, there we go. The trick is to control this so that it goes to where I want it to go when I want it to go there, so. Oh, all right. Enough futzing around. Hello, interwebs, all 0 people listening to us out there across the known universe. Welcome back to the show. You can listen to us. Well, you listen to me complain about everything, and then my friend and co-host here tell me I'm wrong. So I figured that
Most of the time.
yeah, that was the plan though. See, I'm like, oh, I can just talk about things endlessly. I need to have someone there to tell me I'm wrong though. Otherwise, it's really just kind of obnoxious. So that's why I got you here. It's awesome.
Didn't think the slideshow was that bad, but
Well, it's still going. It doesn't bother you?
oh,
Yeah. Okay.
it's not very quick at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I don't know. I just like to complain
I
about
thought
things.
it was like flash up, flash up, flash up,
Oh
flash
no
up,
no
flash up.
no no. It's not quite that crazy, but oh well.
Interrupted the start. So
There you go. I know that's okay. That's okay. As always, for anybody that actually listens to this, you can join us in our Facebook group or follow us on Twitch or catch the shows on YouTube. Feel free to complain and comment all you want. We know they're terrible. We don't care. It's just I'm just at the point where I just don't care. Ooh, what do you got on tap tonight? So when good games go bad, I wrote a little 60-second setup, and then figure we'll end on something positive. We'll do a segment we'll call "Build It Better." So rather than just piss and moan about things we don't like in games, actually propose a solution and kind of flesh it out. So I want to talk more about that whole alignment thing we were discussing last time because I like the idea, and you didn't hate the idea, and recent conversations and events have got me thinking about the idea. So not surprisingly, and what kind of sparked me to set this to think about this for a topic, I had battle 1 and 2 with our friend over things. It went exactly as I expected. A lot of disagreement on the first go around, and as predicted, the events of our last game were it wasn't supposed to happen like that. I just decided not to punish everybody for being stupid, and I changed everything. And what really shocked me, the big complaint that I got was that the games have been terrible, and that this isn't a storybook. They're not here to listen to me read them a story. And if that's what I want to do, I mean, whatever. But you know, that's not what they're all there for. That's what I heard last time. And I'm like, I don't really think I've like this one's been a little more people talking heavy, but that's because there's different groups to introduce and their ideals to present, so that people can make informed choices.
Like,
So anyway, so I
about the unless he's talking about the descriptions got longer, but I mean seems like it should have been longer
yeah
because there wasn't much description before that, and you're actually fixing that, which is a good thing.
yeah well there's there are a lot it's there are a lot of finer points, and I realize that as I've gotten older, while I still like to argue, and I certainly have no problem yelling or getting loud, I just in this particular instance I just don't feel the strong draw to be battling it out like that. So I raised the initial point about trying to win too hard, which of course completely disagrees that that's happening. And then I try to point out things. Like your idea isn't the only idea. Um, it's okay if people do things and it doesn't go perfectly well. That's fine. That's just the way it is. People make choices. Things work. They work out well. They don't. They work out poorly. Any of those things are possibility. Just let it go, man. Just let it go. I actually said to him, I said, every time there's a decision, it doesn't need to be an exercise in moving Mount St. Mikey. He didn't find it nearly as funny as I did, but that's fine. I don't care. Needed to be said. So yeah, so there was a whole there was it was much heated, and there was no consensus whatsoever. The second conversation, better than the first, not quite as contentious. Although I did I did fire a few things out there that he took offense to. So, and I can always tell because he gets mad. So, but took my shot. So I figured there'll be a third one, but got me thinking about this topic. So there are when games, groups, people, it can be going so good and everything seems fine, and then you hit that brick wall, something or sequence of things, and shit falls apart. Now, I find it funny that other people I talk to, like their biggest problem is getting people just to show up. Like absenteeism and attendance are always big issues. I don't think that we've really had that problem. Like people have scheduling issues and conflicts and whatnot, and that can be a problem. And we've kind of talked
Yeah, I
about.
think it's more scheduling and things like that rather than people not wanting to show up.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think anyone's given us the dodge. I legitimately think they have other things that come up, and obviously their priorities are different. I get the impression, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but it seems like other people have a lot more. They're always doing stuff. There's always all this time to be doing things, and I'm like, I don't have that time. Like I'm working and then getting home and trying to cram in like whatever whenever. Like I don't have all of this time to fill up. So for me, if I'm going to commit to doing a game that takes some prep work, to present something I'm happy with, and to be ready, and my time is precious. So I would never like join a game and then be constantly blowing it off. I would either not join if I couldn't do it. Um, other people don't seem to have that issue, and they other events, take priority. Which again, whatever. If like I don't expect someone to dodge, to miss a family event or something. I get it, totally get that. But some of the other reasons have been kind of sketchy. But anyways, that's I think is a much bigger problem for other groups. Ours is never that problem. But there's a lot of ways that games can kind of go bad. So people stop showing up, show up sporadically. You can have players that are uninvolved, people that wreck games. You have DMs that go right in the tank. Stories don't work out. The list is endless. So I kind of put down a few of the biggies here. I wanted to kind of talk about this because most of my experiences come from being the person organizing and running the game. Not that I'm really much of an organizer, but you get the idea. And I know that a lot of your experiences are the other side, being in the games. So I'm sure you definitely have a different perspective. So I just want to run through some big things, and and obviously we can discuss where our current game is at because I feel it's kind of gone in a bad direction for a lot of different reasons. I'm just not sure which one's going to be the nail in the coffin, or if it's recoverable. Who knows? So, all right, but let's go right. We're going down the list. No, what?
I'm not sure one way or the other on that.
Yeah, I have some thoughts. I was looking forward to kind of discussing this, but let's go. We can run through the notes a little bit. So
Sure.
you can have a game where so you have games, and I think this happens to people that are more story and setting and narratively attuned. This is a bigger problem, but you can have a game where the narrative just falls right on its face. Either it goes in a direction that nobody wants. It's not interesting. It becomes boring. Players tune out. You can feel like you're forced along. You're forced to do things, or maybe there's not enough pacing to it, like where nothing is going on, where everything just kind of stops. So I know that we have had a couple of these. So I certainly have had sessions, and then in some cases, whole story arcs that I do, and I'm just like, wow, this fucking sucks. Most recently, in fact, the Hidden Lab set of runs for our Shadowrun game. Like when I had that plotted out in my head, again, I'm building based on the things that I find enjoyable. So I would love to go to a movie, like go to a movie. That's how I think of it. And see the special ops team, infiltrate this facility and then find out there's some horrible thing going on, and then have to battle their way out, all the while trying to figure out what happened. So that's how I had it envisioned in my head. Now the delivery of that kind of fell through a little bit. So when that started to break apart, and we had a couple of big gaps in between games, like multiple weeks, which I think was part of the issue. Which that's a separate kind of thing I want to get to. But I think part of the problem with that is, and this is something I want to talk about with the trying to win too hard versus trying to make choices that are realistic to your character. This was the defense I got when I brought up the you're trying too hard to win kind of thing. So
Okay.
I thought, like, to me, as a player of the game, I want to explore the mysteries and I want to answer the questions and I want to interact. So I assumed, and what I had put a lot of time into was the idea that you guys would go down there. You would realize that there was something crazy going on, and then you would try to figure it out. What actually happened was,
And I'm the person of let's get to the objective, grab the objective, and get out as quickly as possible.
so obviously I see, and that's bad on me for setting up a scenario that the like the payoff of the reward, some of the rewards, the rewards I had planned, um, and the overall like content, the quantity, huh?
Were great, but I don't know that any of us actually believed we were ever going to get any of them.
Well,
Even though you kept on, reinforcing it with oh, there's this bonus, there's this bonus, there's that bonus. I'm
oh no, I'm not. No, I'm not talking about the. No, I'm not. I'm not talking about the cash pay, like the payout. No, that's the thing. I was once again I was explaining this to our friend, and he doesn't believe any of it. He believes that everything. I just keep changing things to fit my own personal narrative about how the games are going, which is not accurate. But no, I had some weapon. I had some. So in particular, I had a gun. I had a better cyber deck, and I had a couple of spots where you could have stolen data for money, like there were labs that had research in them. So I always knew you were going to get double crossed, and that you'd end up in the box, dumped in the lake, and that you guys would obviously escape. That was the idea. So I had built rewards in there that you could have encountered, but again, that was I was expecting that you guys would do some exploring. So, excuse me. But what happened was the scenario started as soon as it got crazy. You guys got down and got the objective, quote unquote. And I really, I guess I underestimated. Like everyone was like, all right, let's just get the hell out of here.
it was crazy enough and weird enough that in the fact that they just seemed to keep coming back, that it was just like, okay, I don't want to end endless horde of zombie bull attack. I want to get out.
Yep. So I mistook that motive. That was bad.
I'm not a zombie horde person. I am not a kill everything, and well, I am a kill everything, but only in those systems that reward me for killing everything.
So so let me ask the question. So you as a player, you're sitting there. This gets the scenario gets laid out, and it kind of falls flat, and then it takes it took a couple. It took I think 3 sessions altogether when we
I think
actually
so.
got to play, like 3 or 4 to grind through the scenario, just to get to the end of it. So the question is, so when you find yourself stuck in that, and I'm sure there are people that have games that, well, we've actually played in them, where every game feels like that. You're not attached to any sort of story. You don't have any motivations. You're literally just essentially floating from random encounter to random encounter to story bit to random encounter, or not even story bit, but to the next hook, as it were, to the next encounter, just endlessly. So if you found yourself in a game like that, where really, I mean, like literally, the only thing you're doing is sitting down, making a few, you know, cursory decisions, quote unquote, and then rolling some dice. What as a player, like, what do you do if it happens? If it's a one time thing, like everybody has an off couple of games or whatever. But if your game gets to the point where that's it, that's the highlight of it. Like that's all there's going to be, and you are completely just uninvolved with it. much as people in our group constantly seem like they are, which maybe they probably actually are. What do you do as a player?
I mean, I check out. I mean, really, I check out and try to get through to the objective and hope that it further actually it does actually change at some point.
So what if it doesn't?
Um, I start finding excuses not to show up.
So we go with the passive aggressive quitting. Like
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not really gonna quit, but I'm not really gonna not quit.
And,
I mean, fair enough. And I have definitely been around people and heard stories and seen games where I think a lot of that is what's going on. I actually, I would speculate, and again, I know every player is a bit different, but I have been uh, for small spans of time invited to other games, and I have seen, I had heard stories about players not showing up and how the people running the games couldn't understand why. And then I played in a few of them, and I'm like, well, I kind of get it. Like I can see how a player who was looking for certain things out of their gaming experience would kind of fade off based on what was presented because it didn't. I hoped after the first game that it would change a bit, and it didn't. And there was some upheaval and whatnot, and a few things that stops and starts. But I can certainly see how somebody who was there with a certain set of expectations would decide not to come back. So now let me ask you. So your response to that is to kind of check out, fade away, find reasons to stop showing up to the game. Now is that might be your personal tactic of choice? But let me ask you: is it worth it? Do you find any merit in it? Would you consider sticking around in that kind of a scenario um, to support or try to enable somebody who is either newer or working on improving at running games to give them a fair shot and to provide feedback and basically encourage them to keep trying even though they suck. Like
I,
is
as I'm fading away, I usually would encourage them to keep trying, even though they suck.
Okay.
I'm not really a person to say, well, everything sucks, and why don't you stop and never do this again? I just don't want to have that kind of conversation because, well, I really am less than confrontational.
Which is funny because I have seen a few instances where we were pretty sure you were going to murder somebody in a confrontation. So I find that to be funny that you do have that deep down inside somewhere.
It's a lot more on top. The wanting to kill somebody is a little bit more deep down inside.
Gotcha. You got to dig to get the creamy nougat.
Yeah, it takes a little bit to get the juices flowing, and then the anger and the confrontation comes out,
Once
and
yeah,
I want
once you've reached the point of crazy, then like now it's on.
it's that it's I have a very long fuse, but it can be shortened by taking certain steps.
Gotcha. Yeah, I definitely think I have mellowed in my old age. Like I certainly have gained a bit of perspective. And part of my conversations with our friend, it was pointed out is like the the although it's funny, it was framed in the this is why you lose arguments, not like this is why you're a dick to talk to. Is that you refuse to admit when you're wrong. I'm like, well, first of all, I'm never wrong. Let's get that out of the way. Secondly, even when I am wrong, so are you. But that was kind of thrown at me. But yeah, there was a time when I would really relish that that kind of argument. And if I was a, and I think if I was a player in one of these games, there was a time when, well, let's be honest, as we talked about it, we talked about it a few episodes ago. I, couldn't help myself from being kind of a dick about what I thought about games and what wasn't going well, and that obviously was not very constructive. Definitely not very effective. Now that I'm a bit older, I was going to stick out that other game I was in that was just 100% not my thing. Like it wasn't the style of game. It wasn't presented in a way that I wanted. Um, it was very much all the things that I'm kind of at best lukewarm on when it comes to gaming. But I was going to stick it out because I was going to make the conscious effort to try to bring another element to that game, to play the game from my end the way I would want to, or to show, kind of show people that, and interact with the other players, and try and kind of steer things in a direction that I would have liked, and see how it went, and as a matter of not being rude to the person running the game, I was gonna suffer, and I'm much more willing to do that now. Now, on the flip side, and um, if you're the person running the game when that happens, I will tell you what I have. I used to what I used to do is I was very much just set into the. All right, screw it. This game sucked. I apologize. We're going to stop it right here because this is terrible. Let me bribe you with experience points, and I will go back to the drawing board, and we will pick it up the next time and make it not suck. I didn't want to deal with it. It was usually a heavy mix of being overly proud that I didn't do anything wrong. You guys screwed something up, or it's not my fault in some way, shape, or form. And I just wanted to kind of cut it and move away from the mistake instead of addressing it and fixing it. Now, what I found myself doing in the zombie lab thing was a perfect example. That was I went back to my notes and material probably a dozen times or more, trying to make tweaks, trying to change things, trying to uh, alter what was going on with the way the material was presented, the logic behind things, trying to kind of recalculate um, how to do scenes to try and respark interest in that. Excuse me. And it just none of it worked, but I gave it a try. So I would think if you're responsible for one of these, if you're running this and the narrative kind of falls apart, I think it's better to try and fix it, kind of on the fly,
That's
and
fair.
then massage your way around it
If
a
you
little.
can, I mean, if it's not to the point of being completely unredeemable,
Yeah,
and you realize that nobody wants anything to do with it anymore
yeah.
as well.
Give it the old
And
college try.
if
Yeah,
if other people are willing to try as well, it's worth trying. That's why I'm questionable of what can be done with ours.
oh yeah. No, I see. So I had the same thought. So the so I realized this at thinking about it, and I've come to realize this. Um, I do I think the not that I've presented much of it, but I'm starting to seriously question if the overall story arc and narrative kind of path I wanted to follow with our Shadowrun game is really going to work out. I think it's super interesting, and um, like I think we were talking about this before. I think I was talking with you about it. Maybe I was talking to somebody else, but I wanted to do more with magic and the occult and the spirit world, something we had always avoided. I wanted to build the backbone of a bigger story, kind of that was based on all that stuff. Fully intent, and you know, fully intended to, and I guess maybe this is my failing for not understanding my player group, but the idea was to have a few small missions that kind of that tie into a bigger storyline. You guys would start to encounter that, and then you would get bigger and bigger chunks of it, more and more involved. Eventually you'd figure out. Sorry,
Start caring.
maybe, but yeah, you would get pulled along with it, and eventually um, would eventually see and be involved in bigger events. That was kind of the idea. And now that I think about it, even though you know the events are overcomable, they're things that you could interact with. It's by no, it's, in my opinion, it's by no means impossible. It's not. I'm not throwing unkillable giants at you, on day two kind of thing. There are some elements that, and rightfully so, would be of concern, and would they should I want them to feel powerful and dangerous, and there are elements of the paranoia that I'm okay with being present, that I wanted to have show up in the game. I wanted that,
Right.
but I'm starting to realize that I think what would
Might have built a little bit too much of the paranoia in
not
there.
no not that I think that the player tendencies, one in particular, um, essentially just guarantee that this is doomed. This is doomed. Doomed to fail, because as soon as the game starts to heavily involve magic, it's immediately nothing we can do. It's all powerful. We have no chance. Even though as we've found out in the rules, there are several things that not only kind of take the edge off a lot of the magic, which that's what I've realized. That none of it's as good as it seems. Essentially,
None
yeah. There is definitely stuff that is powerful, but I don't think any of it reaches the level of paranoia that's out there. And this is just player versus the rules. That's the thing. This isn't the characters are terrified of it. No, this is like literally the player.
The player won't read the rules.
Right. And they assume that they just assume that it is broken and too powerful, because they have seen situations where it's powerful. This is, I think you and I talked about this. That so they perceive it as being all powerful and too much, and there's nothing you can do against it, and you're all doomed. And it's just guaranteed. Everything's either it's out if they anything you choose to do is guaranteed suicide. Anything I force you to do is just me trying to murder you, because it's impossible to deal with, right? I don't
Or
think.
very simple.
Yeah, like I don't think it is like that. Now again, and I'll be the first to admit this, as we've talked about it. I do accept the fact that I might not have the best grasp. Excuse me. I might not have the best grasp of balancing out encounters and accounting for how powerful some of this stuff can be. But the more and more I've read the rules, I really don't like. Yeah, I don't think it's terrifying. In fact, I think
I think a street samurai versus a mage, the street samurai will win 90% of the time.
I would
90.
agree.
Not might win, in a heads up fight. No, will win 90% of the time. The 10% that's in there that they won't win is the few times when they actually show up with no edge left.
Yeah. Bad rolls, bad luck, bad timing.
Yeah,
And yeah, so but I from at least one of the players there, I think there is the firm the and this goes back to the point I was trying to argue with him is so paranoid about it not
he's
being
immune
fair.
to mind
Huh?
control magic.
What?
He's immune to mind control, completely immune to mind control magic because he has 6 edge,
And no
7
essence.
edge. I don't know.
And no essence, which I believe makes it harder to hit him with spells, right?
Only health spells.
Only health spells? Okay.
Uh, yeah, the mind control magic doesn't care, but the fact that you can spend an edge to get 4 successes,
Yep. Yeah, well
people
there's
are immune to mind.
yeah, and this is the point I said that we were talking about. Yeah, a mage with, invisibility and a control spell in a scenario where they can easily create an inescapable death situation against you know the yard trash of the world, if you will, your stock bad guys, your low level people
The
can't.
ganger basically.
Yeah, like the gangers can feel incredibly powerful. Like when I had the two when the two militia guys popped out from hiding and you
Right.
controlled them. Like, yes, that seemed amazingly powerful because you had 4 people on your team who, as soon as you stopped them from acting, just lit those 2 up.
Exactly. We had
So
we had mass shots on guys who couldn't do anything. Imagine that. That might be a little bit powerful.
yeah, and then, but now if you flip that
That's
scenario, yeah, now if you
yeah. You
flip
flip that scenario, and
and
those
it's a
guys'
lone it's a
magic
lone mage, yeah, a lone mage, or even a couple of mages against
yeah,
your team of 5 or 6 people, like that.
will be
That
lucky to keep themselves out of drain. On top of the fact that you're going to be shooting them.
yeah, yeah. So, and
On
this
top
and
of
that.
the fact that you can take multiple shots in one round,
Yep.
they can't.
Well, I mean, you might be. I mean, you might squeeze
Their
off a couple of
damage is
spells.
capped. Their damage is capped. 'Cause if they cast a spell too hard, they're gonna knock themselves out.
Well, yeah, that was the thing. That was the other thing
But
too. So yeah, like with that spell, even if you were to say they were to pull off the amazing roll and they mind controlled everybody, right? They can still only make you take an action on their turn.
they did it out. They did it somehow.
Yeah, they still can only make one person take one action on their turn. It takes their entire turn. They can't do anything else.
So it's not even like they're using your skills; they're using their own
Yep.
skills.
And they have a penalty. They have a penalty to do it for one, and then two, your depending on edge use and successes, the amount of time they have that control over your whole group is going to vary. It could be a single action. It could be 3 or 4 actions maybe. So so again, if it's them versus a bunch, if it's one guy versus a bunch of people, not so powerful. Now say they have a couple of chump guards, whatever. I mean, there are scenarios where obviously that would be catastrophic, but like everybody can shoot at them. I was again reading the magic rules and everything, and it's right in there. Even if they're invisible, you'd have to be invisible and silent. Um, so sustaining sustaining both those spells. Otherwise, as soon as you cast a spell, it is a difficulty 2 test
Well,
to
it's difficulty depending on the force of the spell.
Well, no, no,
If
it's
they
no, it's just.
cast it at
Oh yeah,
0.
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, the force of the spell minus whatever. And yeah, for the most part, you need like 2 or 3 successes for any.
Most of the time, not really. If you want to cast a decent spell, you got to go 6 or above
No, what I'm
on
saying, but
force.
no, what I'm saying is for a person to
Yes.
right. No, what I'm saying is but for a person to perceive the act of casting the spell, it's a very low roll. And the way the rule is set up, even if you're invisible, as long as they
Hmm?
pass that perception roll, they can shoot at you. And they get I think the blind fire modifier, so they lose 6 dice, which yeah,
It's a
that
lot, but
that's not yeah, it's like two or three successes.
that's usually what your skill is.
Yeah. So think about it though. So great. So that
Taking off 6 dice, that's your skill rating.
yeah.
So then you still have whatever your stat is, and if you're specialized in it, or if you spent more points on it, you
Yeah.
have all those extra dice. The extra dice from having a smart link,
Well, and
etc.
you have your edge roll. So yeah. So again,
Have a good probably 6 or 7, maybe even 8 dice left.
yep. So yeah. So sure. So let and actually, I'm sorry. I even skipped a step. So first of all, let's assume that I want to be evil, and I say, okay, the mage has their maximum successes available for being invisible. Well, every character you still roll perception for every character. Now, I personally don't, I don't, I like to kind of hide some of this stuff because I don't want to basically I don't want to deal with the metagaming when I say, okay, every roll perception. Okay, you all rolled shitty. All right, nothing. Okay, you're good. Keep going. Well, no, because obviously that's going to change player behavior on some spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how good or bad, quote unquote, good or bad a
Wouldn't
player you are, kind of thing. So there's first of all, so there's that just straight up roll. Well, thing one, thing two, there are devices and other things in the game that there's technology that defeats invisibility. So that could be in play. So figure those two
perception,
things.
I'm
So
perception. Look for a hidden device on the mage.
yeah, there are hacks and ways around it. So get that out of the way. So
If they're astrally perceiving, you just
yeah,
basically
you
see
just
them.
see them. Yep. So if the mage gets through all, if you know, so again, if the mage can get through all that, good for them. They cast a single spell, get revealed. If that spell doesn't wipe out the whole enemy team, which depending on where everyone's located, that may not be possible. You then have this issue of um,
And they have to deal with their own drain.
yeah, you have to cast a spell, which again, yeah, if you want to make it powerful enough that it's effective, and then it gets, and then that you can get enough successes to have it be useful, then you have to deal with the drain, and then everybody gets a chance to spot you for doing that. Once that's done, everybody can shoot at you. So again, if you don't, if you insta kill one person out of a team of 4 or 5 people, you still have 3 people that can shoot at you, and you have all these other complications that are going on. So that happens. Then you take damage. Then you're sustaining the spell. Then you're trying to cast more spells. And like you said, uh, now are we assuming that every mage has increased reflexes on it all the time? Okay, so now we're up to 2 or 3 or 4 spells, or two, 3, 4 spells that they're sustaining at this point to have a good initiative, to be invisible,
That's why you have a few
like
foci,
focuses.
but
Okay, which
same point, they're all spottable too.
yeah, yep, yeah. So there's all a chance that you're going to get seen. But you get through all that, you cast your spell. Well, you might hurt yourself. It might get resisted in some way, shape, or form. It may not affect everybody equally. Then everybody else gets to go, and we see, like we said, we see what happens. And while there isn't technically a rule against it, most mages not running around in full body armor usually tend to be a bit squishier. So there's that to figure out, and then there even after that, there are dozens of ways. Like
Run
all
around in
you
full body.
what
You just can run around in full body armor.
I know there's no rule against it. I personally hate that idea because again, a little bit too good, but that's just me.
I
But
just wore a suit because I was more of a face mage.
yeah, which is I respect that. Let me go get my coffee really quick. Hold on. Tap dance for the internet.
No tap dance. I am not your dancing monkey. Regardless of how funny that might look. By the way, it would look really funny if I was your tap dancing monkey. I might have to make shots like that.
You get a little sound thing. You'd be like, and now some soothing sounds of metal. Like death metal on while I run and get my coffee really quick.
Oh no, no! I thought about it. You
What?
told me to tap dance, and then I'm like, I am not your tap dancing monkey.
I like that.
Although that would be really funny with my head.
Would be like a little monkey body, but
Sean,
like your big giant furry face and head, but little tiny monkey body.
yes.
That'd be fucking hysterical.
Make a little skip to throw into the thing when I say something stupid like that.
Yeah, I like it. But yeah, so you go through all of that, deal with all of that, and then like, what's your payoff? Like, maybe you get a bit of control over some people, and again, don't get me wrong, I do think there are some spells that, based on the system, are probably a little too good versus not punishing enough. Because there's some stuff, there's certainly some stuff that you can kind of abuse with the system. And again, and like you were saying, you know, um, you could have all the focuses to cover all your sustained spells, wear the full body armor. Like,
The focuses, though, are limited by your magic rating and things like that. So there's actually game rules to that, and there's game rules to if you have too much focuses, you could be addicted, and that can cause you more penalties to some of the key important stats to
yeah,
of ones that resist your drain, which then make you basically burn yourself out.
yep. Ultimately, and this is the great irony of this. So he's running around, you know, refusing to do things and terror, and constantly living in fear of deckers and mages out to get him, right? Which I love. He can claim it's that's the character. No, that's you, because again, and I brought this up with him, and he didn't want to agree. He doesn't agree with it, so we were arguing about it. Anytime that there's even the slightest hint that something might be unfair or unbalanced, you go off the fucking deep end about it. If I force it on you and you think it's unfair, it's argument without end. It's frustrating.
Don't know how anything's unfair. I don't understand that. It's in the game, therefore it's fair.
Right.
It's fair game. If it exists, even if you made it up out of sheer absolute 100% maliciousness just to freaking target him, it's fair game. I don't care.
Well, I would I would disagree with that. I do have I disagree with just the end of that, where it's where I, as the person running the game, will do ridiculous things.
Yes, I
Yeah,
agree.
and because and this is
Just-
and again, this is the classic hero versus like the balancing act for narrator the DM versus player, narrator, whatever, is that yes, I can build an infinite supply of max spec mages with the maximum number of focuses, with the ideal combination of spells to defeat all the things that the players are doing. Like, I could certainly do that. That's a possibility. So there's a level where it becomes unfair. So what I'm driving towards with this, as we kind of wrap up the or as we're going with this, is 100% you can build the rules out to do that. And yes, I could have invisible mages and deckers running around all the time, constantly trying to screw everybody. But shouldn't there be an unspoken contract between player and narrator that we're not going to do that? Like I'm not going to try to beat you as the narrator because that I will always win because I can do whatever the hell I want. And you, the player, are not going to ruin the game, intentionally out of spite or to be petty for other people and the narrator. Like that should just be out there. Like, this was another area that the conversation went, or the argument, if you will, was, that I, and this is to my credit, I was told, have always presented a world where there are things that you really should know better than to do. And my example is always, if the legend says that if everyone knows that the angry giant lives in the cave on the hill, and your first level characters go up there and poke the giant,
Yeah.
and like I'm not fucking around with that. If it wasn't presented as a rumor, if it's like no, like there's a fucking giant that lives up there, and your day one adventurer goes poking up there with your leather armor and your rusty short sword, like you're gonna catch a giant to the face. Like that the world exists outside of what the characters are doing. So powerful people are powerful people, and powerful monsters are powerful monsters where they live in the game world. And if you encounter them, it's not like the was it was it Morrowind, like the whatever Skyrim, where they had this genius idea to keep the game exciting, is that the world levels up with you.
Rowan, mostly.
Morrowind, I think, yeah. So I remember seeing a guy who like could beat the game in like under 30 minutes, and the trick was to never sleep and level up, so that once you got to the through the portals to go fight the demon boss, he was just a level 1 dude. So he had like was just as long as you obviously were competent with the controls, he was no harder to kill than a goblin. It's the final boss of the game, and he's a level 1 dude. So very very easy for your skill as a player to overcome the stats of the game, type thing. Like I certainly don't do that, but just because just because the world, it's a living world, and that things are out there that are too tough for you to deal with. Again, there should
that everything is too
correct,
deal with.
and there should be this level of trust that if something is instant death for you, like you should be fairly confident that I probably will give you enough information to make that choice accurately. Like, again, like we use the giant example. I'm not going to say, oh, there's this rumor that 100 years ago a giant lived in the cave and killed anybody who went near it, and no one's been up there for 100 years. If I said that shit to you, guess what the first thing you're going to go do is? I'm fucking going up there.
Because
Giants don't live for 100 years.
Giants don't live that long.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you know what? He had to have some good loot from killing everything around him because giants are smart and they collect things.
Mm-hmm.
He was a hoarder. He
Yep.
was a hoarder giant.
Exactly, of course.
We gotta get his treasure now.
But so yeah, so I would expect that. But if I tell you, it's to stay away from the knobby hill because just a few days ago the giant came out and was looking for blood and carried off two goat herders and a whole pack of goats, and you go there as a day one character. Well, I mean, really, that's kind of on you because like the fucking giant just is there, like whatever kind of thing. I'm not going to instant kill you. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not. You really have to work hard to get yourself slaughtered by anything other than bad luck, terrible dice rolls, kind of thing. But I realize I do apparently I don't have that with with at least with him. You know, I don't know how you feel about it, but apparently I don't because the I present the fights and they're it's totally it's unwinnable. It's unwinnable. It's unwinnable.
Did
Oh,
you know
oh
you never tried?
yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, because I remember having this fight in I remember having the fight two games ago where yeah, admittedly I pooched it. It was certainly reasonable. I should have it's certainly reasonable that the master gunslinger probably has gel rounds available in case someone needs to get put down but not killed. So I fully admit this. Like, well, once he got the order to capture you and like it looked like you guys weren't going to go down easy, I should have pumped you guys full of gel rounds. Perfectly valid strategy. Logically, like I hadn't thought about that ahead of time, but logically I wouldn't. Like you guys have stun weapons, I would assume that somebody who makes their living with firearms can't just kill everybody. Probably needs to accomplish other goals sometimes. It would make sense. So I could have done that. So that fight could have gone differently. And if it had, let's say it had gone differently, who knows how it turned out. But that fight had four, two, four. No, actually had six security dudes, the Texan and Klebus. And Klebus literally didn't get a single spell to work. Got
I felt
stuffed
that.
every time, right? And
Stop it. Stop it.
yeah, and once those three got down,
That
those
fight
three,
was Bill.
yeah,
That was a literal. That was one of
on
the
purpose.
one of the key pillars of Control's idea was that I want to be able to take control over the people. I want to make sure that nobody can take control of me.
Yeah. So, but yeah, once those guys, yeah, they mowed through the security guys like with nothing, no problem. Like what it wasn't an issue. And while I'm not going to say that you guys were necessarily close to killing the Texan, you guys could have pressed the issue and had it fairly you could have pressed the issue and pretty much would have been able to kill him. I don't know if he would have taken somebody with him. That's a possibility. But he was not unkillable. Jeez, he wasn't. So I'm thinking, okay, so we have this fight spread out. You guys have cover available. The combatants are spread out on two different sides of you. There's room to run. I had the whole floor of the mansion built up. So I'm like, okay, this fight would be difficult. You have because you had the security guards who were no tougher than the ones you dealt with before, like slightly better equipped. You have
See, that was my whole thing is that Mike had his freaking rocket launcher on him.
Mhm.
I mean, really, truthfully, when the guards open the door, you launch a rocket in the middle of the guards, they're probably not
All
going to
dead.
want to, or so injured that they're not going to want to come in anyway.
Yep. Yeah.
And then
So
we're down to three guys, one of which we know is a badass, one of which is a mage, and one of which is a wild card, and probably is at least okay with dealing with crap, but probably isn't the end all be all god.
yeah. Well, and
You know,
I won't spoil his particular skill set, but yeah. So this is the thing. So again,
he's
maybe.
he's more of a face for the organization than anything else. But that, again, I that's just my take on the subject is
Oh
that
no, you're not.
he's
Again, you're not wrong.
more
Yeah, you're not wrong. But well, here I mean,
the
yeah, I'll
face.
tell. Yeah, I mean, I will tell you. You have the gunslinger adept. That's the Texan. You have a mage. That's the brother. And the one you're
Yeah.
talking to, Zach. I got the names backwards. Zacharias. Yeah, he would be a face. That's what that if he was a runner, that's what he'd be. So the guy can shoot a gun. The guy, he's got defenses, obviously. And there's the guards, but you're technically your characters should all kind of be better. And you have the benefit of being at close range right to start. Um, so there's a lot again.
And
There's,
then
there's
my distance to take any one guy out with my attack. Well, I mean, obviously it would depend, but
yeah, there's
I
like I
am
said, there's
sort of beefy.
yeah, and there's the thing. So there's a lot of ways that fight can go. It could go bad. It could go well. Whatever. But okay, so you choose not to take it. Now that's fine.
Didn't
That's
think
fine.
so, but
Whatever. You made the choice. But yeah. So that's the whole thing with this. So if the story's not if the story
because
if this
because I know none of them are going to back me up. It's suicidal for me to do it by myself.
yeah. And what's sad is in reality only one of the four is really going to be essentially useless. I mean, she has the Decker has some options and certainly could help, and again has specific combat things they could do, to assist. But yeah, it's like you have four other people that are hardened killers, that have good gear and ready to scrap kind of thing. So okay, so whatever. So again, that narrative fell apart and whatever. Here's where we're at, kind of thing. So with the players flaking out, so that's the situation that we're currently in, right? So
100%.
yeah, so you have a player who just is making it difficult or impossible for things in the game to progress. Um, in no short order, my particular issues. Um, somebody being, your apathetic, suicidal player. I've dealt with these many times. It's bullshit I've gotten from young players and old players alike, where it's whatever, I don't care, I'm just gonna go do whatever, and I don't give a shit if we die. Or the Mount St. Mikey scenario where they're so wound up in their own viewpoint, and that what everybody if we're not doing what they think is the optimum thing, then everybody's stupid, and it can't work, and it's a huge mess, and they make progression in the game difficult. And I'm certainly okay with. I want players to make decisions for their characters based on a few simple tenets, and this is kind of part of the alignment thing, and something that I really want to it's probably my fault for not enforcing this better in games, but characters unless specifically made to be so, like, they're not suicidal. They they don't undertake jobs, missions, adventures, quests, whatever you want to call them. They don't undertake those with the intention of getting killed. Um, Obviously, that mindset might change given certain events in game or specific ways the narrative plays out. Okay, whatever. But in general, I want my players making choices for their characters with not dying being part of the decision making tree. But the flip side of that, and I was trying to argue this point, but we were already too far gone. The flip side of that is you cannot you cannot, within the context of the game, have your character be risk averse to the level that you would be in real life. That was one of the points that came up that I didn't really get to attack, because I'm driving and a bit frustrated with the whole situation. But the defense is, well, I make choices. My character makes choices, like it was the real world. So So he's not gonna he wouldn't do things to get killed. And my
Then he
count
wouldn't be a runner. He'd
that's
be
what
a
I
point
that's what I
stick.
was saying. Yeah, my counter to that was that which I couldn't really get out because we were long past the point of rational discussion, was that if that was the case, then yeah, you wouldn't be an adventurer. You would not be a runner because death and betrayal and those things are all possibilities. And I was saying, I was yelling at this. I was kind of yelling at this point, but it's like any door you open, any choice you make, any room you go to, any job you take, anybody you deal with, anything you touch could be the thing that kills you. So if you're going to make choices like it's the real world and you're not going to do things that are going to get you killed, then you would stay at home and farm. Not even farming's dangerous. Bread maker, that seems relatively safe. Bread maker,
You could easily
fall in an oven.
you could easily cause some bad chemical reactions with the different yeasts and such, and you could probably get sick.
Like
So
poison yourself.
wouldn't want
Okay,
to do
yeah, okay, yep, good point. Okay, so that's off the table. Not even a baker. Literally, the character wouldn't do that. Now, I'm completely okay with intentionally building a character who is a coward. Like that would be fun.
power and being completely risk averse.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the thing. If
Risk
you're
is the building block of adventuring of
yeah,
any.
I'm going to go do this thing that other people aren't going to do because in the Shadowrun context, I'm doing this because I'm going to make a living at it, or I'm doing it to say fuck you to
Yeah, it's fuck you to the corpse.
yeah, to society. And in fantasy and in fantasy games, it's because I'm that my character for whatever reason I come up with is a cut above the rest. I'm different than normal people, and these tasks and things that others would shy away from are things that I'm going to go do. So you could play. I mean, you could play a coward. You could play somebody that was timid, or there are ways you could do that, but
Would it
don't.
wouldn't stop you from trying to do things though, because you're still trying to exploit the system.
Yeah, and that's yeah. So
The
yeah,
coward maybe completely combat. I mean, if he's a coward, maybe you'd have to figure out what exactly they're afraid of. Are they afraid of combat? Are they afraid of confrontation? Are they afraid of what are they afraid of? You just got to make the character from that to see what situations you're going to turn into basically a pool of jelly,
yeah,
or making everybody go, no, we don't want to do that. Trying to get everybody to go against something.
yeah. And there has
You
to
know,
be
also, you would usually want to still try to push yourself to go in that direction so you can throw the rest of the party at it. And
potentially you could be yeah you could be cowardly and manipulative. You could yeah. So with all those things, there does need to see that there and this will kind of go into the alignment thing too, but there you need to make concessions with the extremes of the character so that the game can progress. So like yes, you can be a coward, you can have certain traits, and you build that into the character. And there are but it can't just be that I will never do anything because I'm a coward, because then obviously it doesn't work for the game. Just like the flip side of that, as I've been accused of many times. Not every monster and NPC is a Navy SEAL or a hardened member of Al Qaeda that's going to die for the cause, and they never run, they never give in, they're kind of thing. Like you can't go the other way either, where you're well my character is fearless and will fight to the death for anything. Like
if you could do that with somebody like a paladin in a D&D setting.
well, you could do it with any character, have that kind of drive, But again, you'd have to temper that with something that makes the character playable in the context of the game, where it's not ruining things for other people. So and you have to make some concessions.
And being a paladin ruins it for everybody anyway. So, I
No, it
mean,
doesn't. You hate paladins. I don't
it
know
sure
why.
as
Well, that's like again, that's the with like the old lawful good thing where excuse me, where
Hey, Al Qaeda. Paladins are Al Qaeda.
maybe
Think about it.
that was that was the point. Just to throw this out there. So the point. So the second conversation was the second conversation
Especially
we
in any of Mike's worlds.
yes. So the second conversation we were having was going better. There was some jabbing back and forth, but nothing really major. When I was trying to get through my points, but I really do better in writing than like over the phone while driving. But anyways, um, as we were going around about some things, I decided that I was going to kind of take a shot at the whole morality side of it. That's another part of this too, which I'll get into in a second. And I said, hey, you remember that story from back in the day when your brother Ray was playing, and they were sneaking through somewhere, and there was the crying baby in the crib. Yeah, you remember how the story ends where he murders the baby. Yeah, so I just want to be clear. So by your definition, because that baby posed a risk to his plans and could have got him killed, that was a good act, is what you're saying. He went off the fucking deep end when I said that. It was great. Just right off the deep end. That's ridiculous. I don't know. I'm just trying to find the parameters of what you're okay with. There's a difference between a person that can make choices and a baby. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, really, what are you gonna do, right? What if you sneaking through that room, the success of your nation depended on it? Would it be a good act then? Like, I was really gonna start getting into this with him, but he shut down on me. So
Yes, he did.
yeah, that was the end of that.
Because he doesn't want to actually look at the insanity that he's actually built up. He just wants it his way.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the core issue. So the last two things with the player side of it, you know, you can get the game ruined when if somebody really truly subscribes to a philosophy that doesn't jive with the reality for everybody else, whether it be murder is good, um, some other good ones. Oh, females are all physically useless. Um,
Stupid.
yeah, well, I got some specifics for that too, but or um, this idea that in something that he's not guilty of is uh, the player being sly and manipulative and getting other people to die for them to benefit, like all of that kind of stuff. So when you have a player like that, so the question becomes, if you're in the game, you have a player like that. I don't know that I think that they're I don't think they're fixable. Like I don't know if I would go as far as saying that they are completely broken. I do think that there are enough extreme things that are not likely to change anytime soon. And I do believe it will cause repeat issues because you eventually will run into scenarios where what they think is fine, everybody else is like, no, that's not cool. Then what do you do? So
Murder is good.
evil is good. Say it with me now.
Murder is good.
Yeah. So yeah, the so as a player, so you sit down, you're fine with everybody else. You're fine with everybody else in the group. The game's not terrible. So obviously we're not talking about my games because mine suck. But and you have that one player. So you as the player, like, what do you do? Do you?
It depends on if, first of all, you can identify it.
Well, I think in our case we can.
Uh, well, specific case, yes, we can because we understand it. But sometimes you don't necessarily always recognize the problem. Um, Earlier game where I lost Belden Hood and we that pretty much ended the game because I didn't recognize that I was being manipulated.
Ray is an evil one. There is no doubt about it. So
I mean, it's not always immediately 100% recognizable by the player. If you can recognize it, one, you want to probably bring it up to your DM that you think that there's a problem. And is probably good regardless of how little confrontation you really want to have. Um,
yeah. So if you bring it, so again, so what? Let's look at our scenario. I am fairly certain that while there will be some, there will likely be, I will have some level of success in scaling back the full bore craziness.
right,
I don't hold out the vain hope that um, things are going to change. Like it's he's never going to be me. Like that's not going to happen. He may be
right,
better, but these things are going to be constants. They're going to be. This is who the person is, and they are not. They are not an amazing enough role player, character actor type to really move beyond these things because that's not what the game is for them. The reasons they're there, the reasons they're there, and the way they play the game. Those things they're not going to change.
right.
And that might be the harsh reality with the other ones around the table too. Like they're not ever maybe they're just not ever going to be better. It's just this is what you get. And right, wrong, or indifferent, whatever the reasons are, like this is what you got. So as a player, when you're faced with that scenario, so you're sitting at the table, and either the person running the game's not going to fix it, or they have tried and failed, and you have a player or many players in some cases that you can logically and objectively say are not going to, like, you and them are not going to mesh. Like it's probably just never going to work out. You will always be disappointed in them, and they will always cause grief for you. As a player, I mean, is that when you pack up and go, or stop showing up? Do you ride that out and try to make it better? I mean, really, what recourse do you have? And our situation is particularly difficult because it's not a person that we dislike. I don't have any I mean, I worry about certain things, but ultimately I don't have any animosity towards the person. It's just in this context and for this activity, this is just something. This is just the way it is. It's almost as frustrating as you hating Tolkien. I mean, there's really not much I can do about that. You just hate everything good. So, do you pack up and go?
or just crap. But I don't know, man.
You know,
You're making me look at something that I don't really want to look at.
gotcha. Because this is the thing. So here's where I'm at on the whole thing. The like is the social aspect of it, and are the good times frequent enough and enjoyable enough that you're willing to deal with the occasional disaster and pain in
Normally, I
the
would say yes.
huh? Currently, you say yes.
Normally, in this case, I would say yes.
Okay.
I think it's gotten worse over time, though.
Well, yeah, like this thing. So I don't have any. I mean, I would like to think that there will come a point in time when like they hit the wall and like, oh wow, I gotta fucking calm down. Yeah, coincidentally, it's I had vain hope for our friend Pete, but recent arguments on the interwebs have gotten me to think that he's hopeless. It God, it frustrates me so much. I feel I feel silly having the Facebook battles, but when I see the nonsense, it's got to get called out. So I don't know, maybe I'm starting to lose hope, but I would like to think that at some point in time, that shit would stop. But you know what? I've been waiting, a dozen years for the rest of the people that we game with to have the light bulb moment, to grow a spine, to become more involved, to be louder, to not get fucking trampled over and driven, and driven back into the bushes, when conflict comes up. And it's just, I don't think it's just, it ain't happening. Maybe it's not happening. So from the person running the game's perspective, it's very difficult when it's difficult when it's people you're friends with. I am no more willing to eject him than I would be you or any of the other ones, no matter how much they frustrate me. Except whatever. Like I don't ever want to be I don't want to be in that situation. I would rather just not play than be faced with that. That kind of scenario. Um, but I will say I've
Which
if
is was my usual solution to the problem too. Is it just ends up being, well, sorry, you can't make it.
yeah let the apathy overwhelm you.
Yeah, let it die out of because
Well,
I don't know.
it's become toxic, and at that point, yeah, like it's what do they call it? Fruit of the poison tree. So you've had you've gotten to a point based on negative things, and anything that comes out of it is just going to be tainted by that. I might be misusing that term, but yeah, I think if this was people that if this was a scenario where it wasn't people that I'm connected with, if like so for example, if I start I start helping these kids run this Friday thing game here in town with the newbies. If it turns out one of them's just an absolute flake, then yeah, I'm like, hey, look, man, like I got other people, we're all having a good time. You're an asshole. You gotta go. Sorry. Like the group that kicked me out. Assuming that they were being honest about the reasons, I think that maybe there might have been something else going on, but we won't discuss that on the interwebs. But okay, your players have a problem. I don't fit in at your table. I'm not playing the game the way you want it to be played, and you think it's a problem. Okay, you boot me. All right, it stings a little bit on my end. Yeah, I was a little butthurt about it. I was a little salty, but the reality is, if the other 5, 6 people that are showing up every week are having a great time, and I'm the problem, gotta go. We booted people. Back in the day when we were picking up randoms, we booted randoms plenty of times. And we even booted people that we liked. I see your light flashing, but I'm not hearing any words.
I just said, yep.
Okay. Yep, but I do think I do think you have to be willing to sacrifice a player for the sake of your game. That our scenario isn't that clean cut. All right. Last but not least, with this would be and I think this is pretty clear cut. Obviously, if the person running the game is trying to win and they use their infinite powers as the person making the choices to beat you as opposed to using characters to do it. If they start punishing players, which that's another thing I got to bring up, or there's conflict between a play, personal conflicts. I will say from a player standpoint, if you're in a game and the narrator's just screwing you guys, probably not going to go back, right?
But
Yeah. And then if one of the players other than you and the DM are just fucking are just having it out all the time, again I think
oh no, I used to that used to be every game. So
oh really? Wait, with your other game?
you our problem player.
Oh, I didn't argue with him. Oh yeah, okay. I guess I do argue with him on a fairly yeah, okay. I do argue with him on a fairly regular basis. That's a good point. All right, yeah. So again, I think you kind of bail on that. Now I will say this has come up in my conversations with him. So what do you remember? Do you remember what I told you our conversation was going to be like when I talked to him and I started and I said that I had issues and then we talked about the last couple of games. Remember what I said that would get said?
Because you were taking it easy on people being stupid.
Yep, I chose not to punish them. I was taking it easy on them. I changed things for that. That is exactly what came up, and I'm just like, I knew it was coming, and I think this kind of goes back to, again, this is another philosophy thing. Somebody like players.
I don't understand the idea of punishing people for being stupid. I mean, you're dealing with an organization. The organization is there to make you stronger because it makes the organization stronger. Why would they be holding everything that you love hostage if they're there to make you stronger so that the organization gets stronger?
Yep, and yeah. The logic behind the last series of events escapes me. I don't.
And he should understand the organization because he loves the Al Qaeda organizations.
Yep. Yeah,
He
you would
wants
you
to be part of an Al Qaeda organization.
living
Okay,
in the
maybe not Al Qaeda, but
living in the living in the utopia that is North Korea.
right.
Yeah. No, I got you.
And now one of them joined an organization of similar to that type, but at the same time, not really knowing 100% that they'd done that. And again, the organization is there to make you stronger, to make the organization stronger.
Yeah. Well, when I was discussing this, and I said I brought it up, and it's of course like, oh yeah, that really made a whole lot of sense. Yep, the best plan was just walking in there. Like, well, they didn't know you betrayed them. I'm like, why were they holding him hostage? I'm like, where did you? I go, where did you ever get that he was a hostage? Why is there somebody there with him? He's an old man, and
Nurse and
yeah, I said that. I go, and the arrangement was in exchange for, she would work for them as their agent in exchange for a bump in magical power and a guarantee that they could keep the grandpa safe, who's that's her liability. Which that was another thing too. He pissing and moaning about how that's such a dumb thing to have taken. Why? That like you make a choice to benefit you a character creation that you have a drawback. Crazy, you're not just a murder hobo orphan. And look, guess what happened? I got to pull some narrative levers and use that. And then, while I may not agree with the logic behind the move, it became oh God, now we have to go rescue this person. Okay, great. And now you got to keep him safe. And now it's a thing. And then Stephanie's got to she has to make a choice. Do you want to find some way to get rid of him? To get rid of the negative quality, you can spend karma to do that, and we'll work that into the story. Crazy. That choice created a personalized character arc that you can build narrative on.
Mm-hmm.
And to be perfectly honest, that scenario really should be like that should be a character building scenario. Like, okay, like look, I like you. We work together. I agree that it sucks that this person might be a risk. Let me help you out. That's what that should be. But
That's
instead,
kind of what mine was built on. The reason for me going there was because, you know, first of all, I don't understand that these guys are super sketchy, insane. And second of all, that I'm trying to work my way into this group. So why don't I help you try to rescue this person that I think is a hostage?
yeah,
And then I find out that no, this person isn't a hostage, at least not in the strictest sense of the word.
yep, yeah. So yeah, so like, so
Okay,
yes,
no definition.
yeah. So that's the thing. So the like the it, it created an arc in the game and built some narrative and it's again it's something different than being a murder hobo orphan with no cares in the world. And and what kills me about this is that person's perspective is, well, that was a dumb thing to take because it can lead to problems. Everything can lead to
That's the
problems.
whole point.
That's why they're that's why they're
That's the whole
drawbacks.
point.
That's why they're drawbacks. That's what
Because
happens.
I built mine. He doesn't even know about that yet.
Yep. Oh no, and then
I have so
yeah, and that's the thing. It's just
much.
there's and it's like again. It goes back to my point about trying to win too hard. Oh well, well you shouldn't have. She's dumb for taking that because it's way too big of a problem. No, she made a choice. We work it into the game. The, the and I think I think a bigger issue a bigger issue is there's a well again there's this mindset that anything that isn't what the player decides is the optimum thing to do is stupid and deserves punishment, which there's no there's no guarantee that a bad decision is not going to work out or that a good decision will go 100% perfectly. Things go sideways. That's how the game goes. So
Plan.
there's no saying that
No
you
plan. Contact with the enemy.
exactly. There's no saying that your idea was the perfect one. Now you think that is, but just think of the selfish arrogance behind that statement. Well, I thought of it, so that's the perfect way to do it, and everything you do is stupid. And now I'm going to tell you you're stupid, and I'm going to make it a huge argument.
As part of
What?
Why don't you go off and be perfect with yourself while the rest of us
Oh
actually
no, that's
live
the
in this
thing.
world?
That's come up numerous times. Well, I can just go do it myself and it'll be fine. Like, dude,
Okay, goodbye.
well, so once again, like I'm not gonna run a. I literally can't run a solo. I can't run a game for two sets of people. So if there were two of us, maybe whatever. But there's not. There's just me. So that's not practical. Secondly, you may not be right. There is that possibility. And I know I get accused of that, but like you may not be right. And who's to say that their idea, which may not be optimal, doesn't work out? Like with this last thing, for example. As I was saying, they don't know that they don't know you're betrayed them. He's not a hostage. She has access whenever she wants. And let's be
Right.
honest, they don't give a shit what happens to him. They're there to keep him safe. So if she goes and takes Grandpa out and he gets shot in the head by a gangbanger, not on them. You chose to take him out of the apartment. We were keeping him safe. You took him. That's on you. But you still got to live up to your end of the bargain. kind of scenario. But yeah, it's just like it's a fucking it's just it's my way or the highway, and then with the whole thing having an issue with this even coming up and complaining about having to deal with that that character's arc. Everybody should get the game should rotate around between big arcs, little arcs, personal character arcs, mixed art. All of those things should be interwoven. So guess what? It's somebody else's turn for their character to do to be the driving force behind a game or two.
Right.
Fucking deal with it.
Everybody should have a game.
Deal with it and be involved. It's like the Matrix things we were talking about last week. Like everyone has the ability to see what she's doing and she can communicate the whole time. So when she goes to do that, your response should be, okay, this is her stuff. I'm gonna go fuck around in the other room for a little while because I don't want to be I don't want to be bothered. Or no, be involved. Like here's a crazy thing. If you think someone's going to make bad choices or not ask the right
It help
question
them.
to do the right things, stay there and help them. You literally have the ability to talk to them while they're doing this thing. So why would you not take advantage of it? If and it's funny if one of the characters, let's just say that let's say Eric was a torturer, that was his thing, information extractor. And you guys kidnap somebody you're going to get information from. Would you just okay, that's the torture thing? Well, I'm not the torturer, so I'm just going to leave the room and I'm going to go out here and futz around on my phone or whatever while he does his thing. No, you'd be sitting at the fucking table involved in it because that should interest you and you want to get information.
Giving on how to extract information better.
Yeah, you would be involved in that. But because it's and again, is it part of the rules? Is it a player thing? I don't know where I don't know where the issue is with this. I have some thoughts about what might be that there might be some underlying other things going on, but we don't need to get into that. But yeah, it's just like no, like just fucking stay and be involved. All right, so wrapping up my point on this. So yeah, if the narrator's going after you, it's bad. You got to quit. But yeah, so that's kind of what I got accused of doing. So I was thinking about this now, like this leaves me in a weird spot because I know what I want the next game to be. I had already kind of worked out what the fallout was going to be from this course of action. I know you got again, I know that there's going to be consequences. Things are going to happen. Things are going to happen. But I know that the next time there's a fight, if it goes bad for you guys, or the fight's not balanced well enough, or the scenario I have creates an advantage and something bad happens, then I'm going to hear that I was just trying to kill people on purpose. It's like motherfucker, really, really. Like there's no pleasing you, Mr.
Because
Powers.
you killed people on purpose when they went to extract grandfather.
Yeah. Well, again, that was just me. That was just me cheating. It had nothing to do with it. He's like, "Why were there guards in the hallway?" It's a high lifestyle building. There's dozens of other apartments. I know this is crazy, but maybe they were guards for somebody else. And then the what got thrown back at me, and I chuckled at this, was, "Well, I just thought things were going to happen. Just another game where nothing happens." I'm like, "Well, Mike, like,
A lot of things happened.
yeah,
We extracted grandfather. We talked to the guys and we found out that, well, we're pretty much indentured servants because, well, we screwed ourselves over.
yep." Well,
A lot of things
technically,
happened.
just so you know, you didn't. Your
Right?
your
At this
character isn't
point.
necessarily burnt because you didn't agree to work for them in the first place.
Yeah, but at the same point, I didn't really agree to the original job either. I was really
Yeah.
a part of that original job. So I'm not burnt because of that either.
Yep.
And there's some outs for me.
Yeah. There's outs for you, but yeah. So yeah.
And
So
it would say that I could take jobs for because I wasn't a part of the betrayal job either. I could get jobs and say that I have a team and just not say who my team is till after they've agreed to taking a job with me.
yep. That's like that. That's an option. But yeah. So with this last one though. So the accusation was that I changed everything to not punish them for their mistakes and whatever, and that it was getting it's frustrating because when's the game where you guys when do you guys get to choose what to do? I'm like, excuse me, you've made all the choices. Like I didn't force you to take this job. I didn't force you to betray your employer. I didn't force you not to have fights. I didn't and then with the grandfather thing, like I didn't. I honestly didn't expect any of you guys to say, you know what? Let's just see if we can have him leave, because I'm like, that's not going to happen. So and again, I you know
I
I
have character.
Yeah, like I said that, and I said this during the conversation. I'm like, I'm like, you said nothing. You're all expecting something to happen. Nothing goes on. What do you think would have happened if you guys busted your way into that building, or went in there and tried to hack your way and failed, or got to this, got off that elevator, guns are blazing at those two security guys? You know what would have happened? There'd have been a gunfight, and then the building security would have got involved, and then law enforcement eventually would get involved. So you'd have had all the action you want that you didn't, that you didn't have to have. Your choice of action caused that not to happen. Though, you didn't do anything to cause those guys to interact with them. You didn't do anything that caused security to get involved. You didn't do anything on that, and that was illegal. And then on the other side with Eric, like, pre-hack the system. You went in. You got in the apartment. You didn't. You just stood there in the balcony. There was nothing going to happen.
Right.
Like, yeah, I guess I could have had the old lady wake up and then had him bash her brains in. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just I'll get a chuckle off the scenario because it was kind of funny.
Right.
But yeah, so it's like the actions.
No problem with this.
Yeah,
I had no problem with any of this.
yeah, there was action to be had if you chose to do it, and then the last part of it, I said to him, I'm like, yeah, he told you guys he'd come get you to go for the meeting, and he even said it's a show of good faith. You can bring all your guns and everything. I don't care. We'll deal with it as it comes. The reason why did he do that? That was done because he wanted to make sure you guys came back. You guys could have launched that attack. Like that was another thing I got said. It's like, oh, there was an impossible situation. Like, no, it was the same amount of security guys that were there when you were there the first time. Only this time the brother was all fucked up from the mission. So technically you could have fought them without the mage being there. It's actually a little easier for you guys. So you could have launched a surprise attack. And I love it. He goes, well, and all those servants are just regular people. Yes, they're servants. This person is wealthy. They have a housekeeper, a cook, a butler, cleaning staff, maintenance staff, and a personal assistant who are not freaking assassins. Like, they're just people that work there. Ugh. So it's like really,
Exactly.
really, really, and the worst of it is like, and I know he was being pissy about how the grandfather thing went, so he didn't hear any of this when I was explaining it. You checked the staff, and what did I tell you? None of them are magical. Nobody, outside of your basic, cyber eye here, replacement hand there, kind of. Nobody has any cyberware. They're not wearing armor. They're in fucking mage uniforms and butler outfits. Like they literally are no threat to you. You saw the opposition up front. A 6-man response team, him, and a Texan.
Pretty much.
So you want to get frisky? Go for it. Go nuts right there. Or here's a better one.
Hey,
Like,
here's the thing though, is that at that point I was making the realization that one, the people that I was currently traveling with are freaking insane.
you're not
Two,
wrong.
I am so far in debt. If I don't get cash, I'm going to start getting beat the shit out of.
Yeah. Oh well, see,
I don't care that I'm a
yeah, no, see, here's the thing. So I'm not. I'm not. My questions aren't posed at you. It's them. Like, he's bitching about not having
well, no.
decision points and
Let me
action
go a little
points.
further.
What?
Let me go a little bit further.
Sorry. Continue.
3, I have Mike out of character. I have him out of character going, "Oh, you know what we're going to do? We're going to turn on these guys, and then we're going to turn on everything else that we've ever had any interaction with, and you know what to do, right?" I'm just like, dude, I need money.
Yeah.
Only poor. I am $1,000 in debt or something stupid like that. I need money.
Yep. And again, this back to his point about how there's no decision points or action points. Here's a crazy idea. So you show up, like like I know this is hard to believe. The big cheats going on. You don't do anything to knock out the security cameras of the gigantic wide open lawn you walk across, so they see you. Sh- I know that's shocking. I know, really going out on a limb to cheat you guys there. But you get in there, and while he has defenses, he's not offering a fight. Okay, here's a crazy idea. All right, we need 5 seconds to talk amongst ourselves. And you guys like, all right, hey, you know what? Yeah, let's tell him we're going to betray our employer, and we'll send him on a wild goose chase, and we'll come back and hit him when he's not expecting it. Crazy! You could have had the good old fashioned double cross. Like you had that option. You could have blasted your way in there. You could have, you could have started shooting right when things went crazy. You could have shot the goddamn personal assistant and went rampaging through the house. When you came back the second time, you could have got out of that limo and just started laying waste to people and see what happens. All valid options, all choices you could have made. You know,
Lots and lots of choices.
yeah. But again,
We chose not to take most
we're
of them.
yeah. So what we're dealing with is here's the real problem. You, singular person involved in the game, have decided for yourself what the reality of the situation is, what options that you have, and then you have locked that reality in, and that's how everything has to be. So because you've decided there are no choices, you've decided there's no way out of the scenario, you've decided that these things are forced upon you. You have made all those choices and have come to the conclusion you can't do anything. I didn't present you with any of those scenarios. And did you ask? Did you ask?
Presented us with lots of choices.
Yeah. And
Every time that we came to a decision, you went with the easy route.
yep. So that yeah. So and the worst of it is, did you ask me any questions? Did you get any tactical information? Did you weigh your option? No. You just pre-decided that you were screwed and that I was apparently going to cheat you into going the way I wanted you to go, and that it was hopeless and it was hopeless and no options. I've made it hopeless.
And I
No,
presented him with
you've decided.
another option
Yeah.
of why don't we just fucking kill these motherfuckers while we are here? And I got laughed at.
Yep. Yeah, and like another thing, he's like, well, we just keep getting screwed out of stuff. Okay, well, I wanted them. I made it I thought I made it abundantly clear. They brought over a goddamn serving tray with the cred sticks on it. So the money's right there on the table. So if at that point you lay waste to everybody, you just pick up your cash and leave. So you were getting paid. The money's right, physically right there. You're getting paid. So at that point, you could have done anything you wanted to do. As long as you didn't, you could have killed every motherfucker in that room. Taken your credit sticks and walked home. Stolen car. Shit, what the hell? Go nuts.
Hmm?
So that option was available to you. And again, yeah, yes. Would that be difficult given the fact that you are not starting out from a good position? Well, of course not. But you know what? You have an understanding of the scenario. Okay, 6 guys with guns, minimal cover. We're at close quarters with these 2 guys, but we're at the other people. The security team has the advantage of distance. Okay, do we have options? What can we do? How can this work out? I have my rocket launcher, like you said. I have also there are options. But just because you decide that you're that. Well, it's like the what's the example? It's the chained elephant. So because you have decided that that there's a chain around your ankle that's so heavy you can't break it. Because you've decided that, then that's the reality for you. Even though your giant ass could break that chain could break that tiny string that's around your wrist with no effort. But in your mind, it's a fucking impenetrable chain. So it becomes an impenetrable chain. And again, I fully accept that. I probably have not described, established, and covered in detail the way many aspects of the world work, security, retaliation, all that kind of stuff. So maybe it's my fault for not for letting people's paranoid minds run wild. I should have expected that and given out more information. That's bad on me, perhaps. I accept that. But again, ask questions and be adaptive. And then when you get the answers, you can't just go, oh, well, you're just saying that because this whatever happened. That's not how it was before. No, that's not true. That is not true. Whew. That took way longer than I thought. So I think I'm going to save my little my 60-second setup here. I think I'm going to save that for another time.
Okay.
But I do want, if you're up for talking for a bit more, I do want to go over at least some basic stuff about this alignment thing, because I was pretty excited to have you agree with me that it was a neat idea. So.
Up for it.
Oh, sweet, awesome. Well, I'm going to open up my notebook really quick. So, actually, I'm going to open my notebook. I'm going to run and grab a water. So you can entertain the internet for 45 seconds.
I'm going to fire.
I have returned it. All right, so I brought the idea up last time, and I figured instead of just pissing and moaning about what we hate, we should try and fix it. Be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So with this particular thing, this is another. Admittedly, it's a slightly selfish reason that I might let our game. I was like thinking about letting the game burn to the ground, so it frees up some hours to work on this instead of doing game prep. Kind of a selfish move. So I'm kind of up in the air about it. Oh, you're all staticky again. Are you chewing your microphone? Am I alone?
Anything?
There, now I got you. Oh, you got all crazy again. Still crazy.
How about now?
There we go. Now I can hear you.
I don't know. It's not picking me up for some reason. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing.
That's random. Well, hey, if you want, man, I can see about hooking you up with one of these sweet boom arms and condenser microphone things I got. It's actually the whole setup was only like $25. Just saying, I don't know what your desk looks like. I don't know what your space is. I don't know what your feelings are. But
My biggest problem would be the putting it together and then Ruth deciding to go on a slight something
okay.
and it picking her up the entire time.
Oh.
If she starts talking to me randomly, at least this way I can mute myself real easy.
Gotcha. Although I do think you can probably get like a little I think some of these had like the little inline mutes on them. I don't know. I was thinking about it. Like I said, I just shipped out the microphone. It's ironic. I shipped out the microphones to those guys today. Little tiny USB desk jobber. So I'm like, aw, Well, there's $16 I wasted, plus $4 for shipping.
Yeah,
Like, fuck that.
right?
But whatever, I'm committed. I'm committed to trying. I don't know. I'm in a weird spot too, because like, if this game burns to the ground, eventually Mike's gonna want to, run whatever he was working on, and now I'm torn. Like, okay, like we don't, I don't agree with his worldviews and philosophies, and I don't agree with, I don't care for the rule system, and we have fundamental differences. But at the same time, I want to be supportive and encourage people to, in the hobby and to improve. So like, I can't really just blow them off. Like that would be wrong. So now I'm stuck. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I'm in a weird spot. All right. So
No,
alignment.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying, yeah, you're in a weird spot.
Yep. It is true.
If that doesn't give you a hint at what that means
Yeah. Oh yeah.
on my part.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I know. I know. You have already pre-built in your defenses. You're like, yeah. I'm done with D&D. Not going to happen. So you are safe.
I'm not completely done with D&D. I'm
Well,
just completely done with second edition.
yeah. Yeah. Like this is the thing. You're. I don't. Yeah. You're not done. You're not done with fantasy RPGs. You just. You like I have.
I don't right now I don't prefer them. Because really I'm kind of burnt out on epic fantasy in general.
Yep.
I've kind of even most of my reading now is more urban fantasy and or slight sci-fi or military fiction.
Oh,
Um, s-
good
I
stuff.
don't even enjoy the genre all that much anymore.
Yeah. I have to say that I don't necessarily disagree with that. Like, I don't fault you for it. I do. I don't mind the fantasy base. I do. I do need more from the material than the classic. Like you said, epic fantasy kind of themes. Like, eh, you know, eh, eh.
I mean,
And
whatever.
it's part of what led me, towards like deciding that I'm okay with expanding the racial diversity in the game. I have ideas for settings that I never would have been like interested in exploring before. But
Oh,
I
that reminds me.
what
This that story was awesome.
what one?
The dwarf one.
Oh, you read that? Oh, you like that? Okay.
Yeah, I liked it. It was really nice. I liked it a lot. That was really freaking cool. I like the whole idea and um the whole setup for it. That was cool.
Yep. Cool. I appreciate that. Yeah. So that's I've been a slacker. I wanted to go through that one more time because let me ask you. Well, what the fuck we're talking? I don't care. So let me ask you. So I went through and I did one revision to it. I was worried that I didn't present well enough, like what the character should look like the
Okay.
kind of the idea. So when I mean, did you get a good did you get enough from what I put in there to have an idea of like what they look like? Um, like
Probably nothing really specific,
okay,
but I was taking my normal dwarf and then kind of made him really beefy. I made them
yeah,
all really beefy.
yep, okay,
And basically, well, first of all, he's a smith,
yep,
the main guy. I mean, he deals a little bit differently in his smithing, but he's a smith, so I made him big and beefy and such like that.
okay, yeah. It
I
was
don't know
that.
if I don't know if I was looking for specifics though either. I usually like to create a picture of myself or
Okay,
for myself when I'm reading.
all right. Yeah, that was like I said. That was the. I went through and I did a second pass on it, and I wanted to make because I like I said I obviously have an idea in my head of what everything kind of looks like, and as we had said before, I realized that make the mistake, or actually, I think I put this on an internet post. I don't think I was talking to you about it, but we might have talked about it. But yeah, I often or always make the mistake of saying, okay, I know what these things look like. I have the image in my head, but to somebody reading it, they don't have. First of all, the odds of them having the same stock base image set that I do is probably not going to happen. Beyond that, when you deviate from that, so in this case, you have the dwarves are they're locked in this perpetual war. So the the grizzled the veterans don't have the big flowing beard, the standard dwarf things because they just been on the front lines for in some cases 100 years. So they're
Did
all
have
fucked up
his
looking.
his was all like frizzy, and
Yeah,
his beard
patches
was
missing.
in horrible shape because yes, he's been fighting for forever. He
Yeah,
did
and
have some
and they
things
and because they're they're essentially in a hellscape. I'm like, okay, I think they would like the skin tone would be different. They would look different a little bit. So, all right. So with the alignment, so with this alignment tool. So the big topic. So from the top level is what kind of like, what axes, what elements need to be in there because you obviously you could overdo this and have hundreds of things, and that's not really going to be feasible. So, what's a good number of levers to have? So let's say that each of these is a lever that you're gonna slide up or down. So
okay.
what ones do we include and how many do we have to be a useful tool? Because
I would think 4 to 6.
okay, yeah, because I was thinking about like I said, I think my upper limit might have been 10, and then what I realized when I was thinking about it is for some people that amount would be doable. It would be useful. I mean, certainly you could define your character's views on hundreds of things, but how much are you going to use? So yeah, I thought like 5 might be a good number. I thought 10 maybe at the most. So what I was thinking for the system was what?
They're two opposing ends, right?
Yeah.
Like you're technically, if you have 5 levers, you're gonna have 10 things that you're comparing.
Yep. And then a range in between. That's the other thing. So we were talking before. So order versus chaos. So
It's because you figured out order versus chaos.
yeah, that's my starting point. So does the character does the character on the order end look for everything to be organized, neat, orderly, with a purpose? Um,
It's having laws and following those laws.
yeah, like I think I don't know. I was thinking that like uh, um, law might be like, could be worthy of its own. So that's another thing too. That's another part of this I was thinking about. Is that I could see where you have big topic, little topic. So like ordering chaos might have, but you could go the route of having kind of subcategories. So ordering chaos is the big one, and then then you might have law versus I guess I guess anarchy would be the opposite. Would be the opposite. Um,
I really just lump order versus chaos into
kind of into
lawful
that.
versus.
Okay. So then,
I mean, if you want order, order is usually brought about via law.
true. So so the next question is, what's the range between these? So the smallest, obviously, you have would be 3. So order, chaos, or in between. So how many variations of that? do you have? Do you go, up 5, down 5, up 10, down 10? Uh, you know,
10 sounds too much.
so
I was thinking somewhere along the lines of it would be an odd number like 5 or 7. I think.
well, yeah, because you have balance in the middle, so that's yeah. So it's going to be an odd number because you have the same number going up and down, and then your midpoint is its own number. So it's always going to be an odd one.
I
So
think 10 or 11 is too much. 9 might be okay.
yeah, I was
There's when you get to a certain point though, is there really that much of a difference between, say, the if you're 9, so the midpoint would be 5? Is there really that much of a difference between 4 and 3?
well. Here's what I was thinking.
You know.
So I had part of my rule set for the divine characters was the idea that overindulgence in divine power could lead to you being consumed by that energy. So,
Okay.
so again, it's another system where I'm working on. I was working on having it be very open ended, and then everything is ultimately contained by a gating mechanism that puts the character at risk. So you have a certain as you get more as you progress, right? So there's just basically you start out, there's a certain amount of shit you can do reliably, and then a small amount that you can do that put you at risk. So you have so level 1 you basically have you have minimal risk, moderate risk, really bad risk. So there's so that gives you kind of the limits. Like you can do a little, you can do a certain amount of things that are low risk safely, but too many of those things or bigger things put you at risk. And then as you grow in power, that shifts. So you eventually get to a point where you have things that you can do with with little risk or no risk. Like you're kind of your gimmies. Like all right, your DD. You can use X number of what the hell did I call them? Placations. That's what I think I called it. So you can use divine energy, however many times, without without any sort of consequence. So those basically all of those pools expand, so that when you get to be a power, so when you get to be a powerful character, there's you can do a lot of small things or some really crazy things and whatnot, but you'd be balancing that against the potential to overwhelm yourself, because the concept is that the soul of living creatures is this picture like a mixing bowl, right? So from birth to death, there's constantly things being added to the mixing bowl, right? And depending on what you're exposed to, what you choose to do, what happens to you, where you go, things you have, like using divine magic, it will it will concentrate or dilute that mixture. So
Okay.
so every time you use magic,
I think I lost metaphor, but that's
you lost part of that. Sorry.
fine.
So
I'm just think I'm not getting it.
oh,
Your
okay.
metaphor isn't working for me. I don't-
Sorry. So basically, every time you do, all of your character's actions, experiences, where you're at, what you're exposed to, is going to change the mix of what makes a your soul. Whether so if you're born in a if you're like so a person that's born in a holy location to a certain god, right? So they have
Uh-huh.
so they have they're going to have a stronger mix of that divine influence in them that's seeped into their soul than somebody who is born in some in some infernal place. Now their actions and everything they do can change. It was going to change that kind of mixture. So A good person doing horrible things obviously, darkens the pool, and a darker person doing noble things will lighten the pool, essentially. So,
Okay.
so the gating mechanism was overuse of divine power. Every time you're using it, what you're doing is you're taking the pure energy of the divine. So, say that's the god of law or order, for example. That energy is pure, untainted order. There's no other influences in there. So when you use that, obviously you're loading up your own self with that energy. So the risk is if you overuse it. If you overuse it, you can reach a point where you cause it.
Over.
Yeah, you cause a runaway reaction, and you risk being overwhelmed by that pure energy. And when that happens, your character temporarily becomes basically a vessel of that pure energy, and you act accordingly. So you lose control of yourself to whatever
You're
effect.
overriding yourself to whatever
Right. So,
divine power
yep.
you use.
So there, the character has a chance to resist that, and then you have a chance to fall to be consumed by that forever, and you transcend out of the mortal world to the divine realm, kind of thing. So that was kind of the concept. So the reason I was explaining that is what I think is that each of the axes would have a pure order, pure, like, so ordering chaos, pure order, pure chaos. So if you were to an avatar of the god of order, an angel of order, whatever the being is, if you went to the outer planes and encountered the beings that dwell in the realm of that god, they are the paragon, they're pure order. There's no taint whatsoever. So I think that each of the axes would have that. So say we went with 4, right? So a level 4 order, level 4 chaos would be an angel or a demon. A mortal person would never achieve that unless it's an extreme circumstance. So then I think you'd have 3 levels, which would be kind of like the fucking surveys we all get stuck with. I slightly agree. I somewhat agree. I strongly agree.
Yeah.
So you can be, yeah. So you can be inclined. Yeah. So you can be inclined to order. You can be, in favor of order, or you can be committed to order. Kind of thing.
Sounds good.
So let's say we have that like 3, 2, 1, neutral. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So
So
that means that it's a scale of 9.
well, it's technically a 6 or 7, but because the two extremes probably don't ever really happen for characters. But they're there for
Okay.
they're there for reference for beings of, so a demon would be a chaos of 4, an angel, or some of your favorites, a devil, would be like a level 4 order. The old lawful evil. The 9 hells are very orderly places. You know,
Because you like to kill people does not mean that you don't have rules saying
that's
how
what I'm
you kill
saying. I'm saying so. So the demons of the abyss would be a 4 chaos, but surprising to most people, the devils of the 9 hells would be
them.
ultimately
Order
would be
4.
strictly orderly, because everything has to, everything has the caste system is rigid, contracts are inviolate. You know how it goes. So yeah, so say we went with somewhat, favored, committed. So on this spectrum, so if you your average uncommitted human,
Be in the middle.
yeah, would be that middle ground. So that would be like, I'm trying to think of how we would describe that kind of person. So that would be like
Human be neutral. I like the word neutral.
yeah. Well, here's what I would
Maybe
think.
neutral
So
on the
so here's what I would think. I would think that your more primitive societies, your
mm-hmm.
tribal society, well, maybe not even tribal, but like your hunter gatherers, your small band, I personally can't stand barbarians. Like I just think thematically they're out of place, and it's just lazy writing. That's my defense. In fantasy rules because they want to have a tank class, so that's what they came up with, and I hate it. But anyways, yeah, like your low civilization kind of person, a tribesman or an aboriginal person type thing, would probably fall right in the middle because they they don't have strict societal rules, the kind of things that you'd see for civilized people, but at the same time, that if they're not running around raiding and pillaging and doing all sorts of random shit.
The Vikings would be higher on chaos.
Yeah, yeah. So like say we use the we'll use the native as kind of the middle ground. Yeah, so somebody who's somewhat disposition to it would be well, I technically here's like I could see like your adventurers being very commonly being one, a one on either side of this. And then
Absolutely.
obviously, yeah, and then like your standard, your standard citizen versus a like pirate or marauder would be like twos on either side. You know,
Yeah, because they believe in the laws of society, so order would make sense that they
yeah,
would have a higher level of order
yep,
because that, and then your pirate, Viking,
the
etc.
opposite, yeah.
on the other end, yeah, because they completely, well, they have their own
Well,
order
yeah,
for
well,
their
Yeah,
own system,
yeah,
but
I would say, yeah,
they have
yeah, maybe like, yeah, yep.
of
And then
chaos towards everybody
yeah,
else.
and then when you get into your threes, that like your threes are where you get into priests, paladins, of either side of the spectrum. So whatnot. Where they're like I
Makes
said,
sense.
they're
The whole
yeah. So
starting out, holy people may only be a two, but once you've literally taken oaths of priesthood to a full degree, then yes, three, absolutely.
yeah. See, I can see making an argument for having this be a five-way scale. So fives would be your paragons. I have a lot of fives in the game, so it kind of fits thematically. So yeah,
Okay.
like your level one order might be like your rebellious teenager could swing between the ones. Normal citizen would be a two because those are the people that like their whole existence is based on there being a system of order, so they exist within the system. Three would be your would be kind of your starting point for the for like judges, magistrates, police, those kind of people in society, and then yeah, and then like your starting level priests, and then four would be where you get into like your paladins and long term priests and whatnot, and vice versa. Okay, so
Accept that.
3, 4, 5. Yeah, I see that.
I can I can accept that one. I could see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think it's terribly unwieldy. All right, so
To make it clear, like you just did,
yep.
as long as you make it a clear defining point, it makes perfect sense. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then what I would what I would think. So like I kind of have the bubble system going on here. It's
Hmm.
my solution to everything for this. So the distance between each layer would be an increasing amount of little bubbles. So we'll use check marks for this. So so between one and two, there's a couple of check marks. Two and three, there's three check marks. Three to four, there's four, and four to five, like five of them. So as you're playing, so I'd have my little list here. Okay, so your guys, well, let's let's just say that you're not an
Sword.
outlaw. You're a civilized person. Like you're a mercenary. You work within the confines of the rules. You might be a two, maybe a one.
Mm,
So the
I think
slide
a mercenary would be a little higher, actually.
would be a what?
I think, well, it depends on the mercenary, but a mercenary may actually be a little higher
Maybe.
because they would believe in their contract. They may not believe in the laws of the land, but they would believe in the rules of their contract.
Gotcha. All right. But so the to slide like again to slide from a 2 to a 1 is easier than to go from a 2 to a 3. And then
Right.
like for most people, for most of your for a lot of people, the swing between one 0 and 1 is would feel relatively fluid, kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
yeah, so the more extreme you get, the more work you got to do to be extreme.
You're really not going to be. You're never going to be truly zero for
No,
very long.
yeah, you're always
You're
leaning
going
one
to
way or
make
the other.
decisions either more order or more chaos, depending on exactly what's going on and what's going. Yeah, I mean you're gonna fluid. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yep. So the third part of this little discussion is so how would you administer this during the game? So I see this being done two ways. So the first way would be I have my little sheet which has where you're kind of at on it, and I present a scenario, and you're going to make a decision about what you do, and then I would kind of look at my sheet and say, okay, does this decision really impact any of these axes very well? So, well, let's use morality. So, well, actually, oh, sorry, let's go with benevolent versus cruel kind of thing. Are you malicious versus benevolent?
Okay.
Good or good evil? What? Oh, I guess we can still. I guess we can keep with order and chaos. Sorry. You know, you're supposedly an orderly person, and you get approached about overthrowing the government, for example, something extreme like that. If you're and you're like yeah, you're like yeah, I'm all for it. I'm like, I would look at it and say, okay, well, you're in that kind of swingy one range. I'm like, you maybe you would, like you wouldn't be like I don't think it'd be out of character to be open to the idea, but I don't know that you'd be signing up for the revolution on day one.
It
You know,
depends on other actresses in that one, Jay.
yeah.
That one is you made that too open
Okay.
because if it's a very orderly dictatorship and you're even I mean if it's a very chaotic dictatorship, you may be if you're even high on the order scale, you may be all for overthrowing that government.
Mm. I see what you're saying. So so to replace a lawful, orderly government. Okay, so yeah, so if you're a high order person and there's a despot sitting on the throne who took the kingdom by by force or whatever, then yeah, you'd be okay with restoring the order that's supposed to be there. I get that. But yeah, so you'd make a decision, and then I would use this to reference and say, okay, well, your character is high or low on this kind of scale. So you're outside of the swingy one zone in the middle. So I might challenge your decision and say, okay, hang on a second. So your guys, I got it right here. You guys pretty committed to order. So, explain to me why you're making that
It
choice.
would be unlikely. Yeah, it would be unlikely for an orderly person to try to overthrow an orderly government.
Right. So I would.
Unless you take in other alignment criteria that you can then throw
Yeah,
at,
kind of justify it.
you know, justify it to
Yeah.
some degree.
So this thing. So what I so but so
Now,
I would I
again, your order may still suffer if you're even though your other ones justify it, it may still suffer a little.
yeah. So that's what I would do. I would use that to kind of check your decision as a basis to challenge what you were deciding to do and get an explanation, or you know obviously ask you to to kind of check your decision. And then the second part of it is I would every time when you made choices that were out of that kind of range, I would make like a little check mark, whatever, up or down, and then I can use that at the end of whenever I do quote unquote experience or whatever, go back, look at that, and say, okay, you know what? Based on the accumulation of your decisions, I just, I want you, let the player know, hey, go ahead and slide that up or down. This is kind of where you've been at. And again, I don't think using that to punish the player like the old system. I think that misses the point.
That's not the point.
There are certain there should be things in game that connect to that have consequences. Absolutely.
But consequences aren't necessarily punishment.
Yeah, consequences, not punishment. Exactly. Yeah, so I would use that to, like I said, check the decisions, and then there are things in the game. So like for my particular system, what I was thinking was based on that mix of energy and whatnot that the character has, based on their actions, that will impact things. So if you are highly ordered, then you might get an extra benefit from having magic from from that source used on you, and you might have a bonus to resist chaotic magic because you are so far to one extreme or the other. So there's some practical benefits to it. But yeah, it's, kind of just track where you go, and then if you were going to make a decision that made a huge swing, then I might, again, punishment is not the right idea, but I would definitely work that in as a thing that happened. I'd be like, you know what? Like, your guys got some midlife crises going on because you did this thing and it's way out of character for you. And I allowed it, and you know it's out of character. It's allowed, and there'll be something that will kind of come on the tail end of that. So, all right, good stuff. So now I just got to figure out what axes I want to use. All right, order, chaos.
Like order chaos.
I think we were saying. I know. I think I had. I was. I think we. What was one? Malicious, cruel. Yeah, malicious,
And
benevolent.
That was cruelty and benevolence.
Might be cruelty, yeah. Maybe. I think some other good ones. I don't know. I'm gonna keep working on that. But yeah, I don't think it's terribly bad. I think it's a good system. It could be a good tool. I definitely want to have some version of this that I'm gonna give to the new people when we start playing. So I'll be like, hey, look, this is not a standard part of the rules. I think it's a good tool. We'll talk about it. Kind of use it, see how it goes. So, whew, all right.
Benevolence versus cruelty. Benevolence versus cruelty better than maliciousness.
All right. Obviously, there's honest and deceitful.
Yes.
Very
good one.
What do we have? Reckless versus cautious.
What was that one?
Reckless versus cautious.
Oh, there we go. Careless for cautious. Yeah.
You can have timid and bold.
Yep, timid and bold.
Thoughtful and careless.
Yeah.
Careless.
Thoughtful, careless. Timid and bold is awesome.
Yep. Yeah. Timid and bold, thoughtful and careless. Reckless and cautious. What was it? Oh, the other one was No, it was cruel or compassionate. That's what it was.
Oh yes, cruel and compassion. You are correct.
Cruel and compassion. Then we had what's the one with the rational versus emotional. That's a good one.
Yeah. Isn't that kind of what thoughtful and careless is, though? Or thoughtful and
I don't know. See, I think thoughtful and careless might. What I'm getting at is, do you? Oh, that's what it was. It was something versus impulsive. Um,
well,
what would be the opposite of impulsive?
cautious versus impulsive, isn't it?
No, because yeah, see, I think like cautious versus reckless would be, um, you
Reckless is impulsive.
uh, reckless is more without care. Impulsive is without thought. Like you just do things. Hmm. Huh. This might work too. What might be a good way to do this is to get together a list of a list
Antonym, an
of
antonym for impulsive is calm, deliberate, planned,
deliberate.
sensible,
That's deliberate versus impulsive. That's a good one.
meditative, and
Yeah.
thoughtful.
Oh, so yeah, thoughtful. Okay, so thoughtful, deliberate. All right, that's good.
Yeah, the ones that they put in the bold is calm, deliberate, planned, and sensible, and then the other, I guessing that the other ones are they technically work, but are less.
Mm-hmm.
Here's also synonyms for impulsive: abrupt, hasty, impetuous, instinctive, offhand, passionate, spontaneous, violent,
Gotcha.
predictable.
Oh, there you go. It's not rational, logical or emotional.
That kind of works.
Although you could also, I mean, you could have passionate versus what, placid or calm and
Something like
emotional.
that.
All right. I think a good way to do this would be to come up with like to come up with the the character trait. So like we had like bold, cruel, deceitful, reckless. Just have that list of goods and bads, and then take that list and say, okay, I really like these ones, like these things, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them,
Deliberate.
whatever, and then dig up like you're doing the antonym of them. Good stuff. All right,
Yeah, I went to thesaurus.com.
there you go. All right, so this is a thing I got to work on. All right, well, this was good stuff. A couple hours flew by, no problem. My voice hurts. I'm sick of talking, and I'm definitely getting tired. So with that, I will say goodbye to the internet. Come join us next time.
Yeah.
Later.